The moment I heard the garage door close well past midnight, I knew something was off. "Work's been crazy," she said, her words a rehearsed melody. I wanted to believe her, to trust that the mounting hours at the office were just the ebb and flow of project demands. But the seed of doubt, once planted, is a relentless sprout. Dinner was cold, again, I mentioned, keeping my tone neutral, masking the cocktail of frustration and concern brewing inside. "Sorry, this new project with Tom is consuming all my time," she sighed, collapsing into the chair opposite me, avoiding eye contact. Tom, her new project partner, was becoming a frequent character in our nightly exchanges, his presence in our conversations overshadowing his physical absence. In an attempt to bridge the widening gap between us, I proposed, "How about we take a weekend trip? Just us, no work, no Tom." The idea hung in the air, a frail attempt at rekindling what was being smothered by unspoken tensions. "I can't," she replied too quickly, "the project deadline is looming. Maybe after." The pattern of late nights became punctuated by her phone lighting up with messages that elicited secretive smiles. Just Tom being silly about the project, she'd laugh off my raised eyebrows. But the unease settled in like an unwelcome guest. Then came the day I found the receipt, a romantic dinner for two, not on any of our recent date nights. My heart sank. It was a project celebration, she explained, her words smooth, practiced. But the celebration didn't include me, and her assurances did little to mend the cracks forming in my trust. Each excuse, each dismissal, felt like a brick in a wall she was building between us. A wall I couldn't see over, couldn't break through. The foundation of our life together, once solid, now felt like shifting sand beneath my feet. It was a Thursday, just shy of 6 p.m., when I decided to surprise Marla at work with dinner from that Thai place she loves. My gut churned with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as I navigated the familiar corridors of her office building, a steaming bag of pad thai and spring rolls in hand. I hadn't seen her workspace in months. Marla's project with the new guy, Jeff, had her burning the midnight oil more often than not. I missed her, missed us. Reaching her office, I knocked, waiting for that bright smile that used to light up my world. Instead, I found her desk, stark and impersonal, missing the collage of our life together that once claimed space beside her monitor. The framed photo from our last vacation, the silly caricature from the state fair, even the little succulent I'd given her for Valentine's Day, all gone. My heart sank. Had I missed a memo on office decor, or was this a message meant only for me? Before I could process further, Marla looked up, her expression a mix of surprise and, was that annoyance? "What are you doing here?" she asked, not unkindly, but with a distance that felt like miles. "I thought we could have dinner together, you know, like old times," I managed, feeling suddenly foolish with my bag of takeout. She glanced at her watch, then back at me, her eyes softening slightly. "I can't, babe, deadline's breathing down my neck. Jeff and I have to work this weekend to catch up." Her words, meant to explain, felt more like a chasm widening between us. I tried not to let my disappointment show. "We haven't really talked in weeks, Marla. Feels like I'm sleeping next to a stranger. Are we okay?" She sighed, a tired, drawn-out breath that seemed to carry more weight than the air it displaced. "I'm just stressed, that's all. We're fine. I'm fine. This project is just a lot." I nodded, though her words did little to ease the growing pit in my stomach. The ride home was a blur of streetlights and unanswered questions, the Thai food growing cold beside me. The days that followed were a testament to our crumbling reality. Our anniversary came and went without a whisper from Marla. When I brought it up, she blinked in genuine surprise before mumbling something about losing track of days because of work exhaustion. But the real gut punch came when I stumbled upon her phone, lighting up with a smirk. Marla laughed it off when I confronted her, insisting it was an inside joke about a client. I wanted to believe her, really, I did. But the laughter in her voice didn't reach her eyes, and those eyes, once so warm and open, were now shuttered and cool. Our conversations dwindled to nothing more than necessary exchanges, the warmth we once shared reduced to cold, functional sentences. Each word felt like a brick, building a wall between us that I couldn't scale, no matter how hard I tried. I missed my wife, the woman I married, but she was slipping through my fingers, and I was powerless to stop it. The night was cooler than usual, a relief from the sweltering summer days we'd been having. But the chill in the air was nothing compared to the ice forming in my gut as I watched her laugh, her head thrown back in a way that used to be reserved for me. There she was, my wife, with him. They were just entering the lobby of a hotel that screamed guilty pleasures and secret rendezvous. The kind of place we used to sneak off to when life seemed like an adventure waiting to be had, not the silent battleground it had become. I waited until the following morning, the images from last night burning behind my eyes, refusing to be blinked away. The confrontation was inevitable, like a storm that had been brewing on the horizon for months. I saw you last night, I began, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Her reaction was immediate and defensive. Saw me where? What? Do you have me followed now? The accusation stung, more so because of the disbelief that clouded her features. At the hotel, with him, I pushed on, needing her to understand the depth of betrayal. Her laugh was sharp, cutting. You're being ridiculous, why would you even think? She didn't finish, but the implication hung heavily between us. The days that followed were a blur of denial and confrontation. I found a pregnancy test hidden beneath the bathroom trash, an ominous sign of secrets kept and lies told. It's not what you think, she insisted, a rehearsed line that did nothing to soothe the growing chasm between us. It's for a friend, she claimed, but the trust that should have made me believe her was already shattered, ground into dust by doubt and suspicion. Our home, once filled with laughter and warmth, had become a battleground for silent wars and whispered betrayals. The affection she once had for me had cooled into something unrecognizable, leaving behind a shell of the love we used to share. Arguments became our new normal, erupting over trivial things that neither of us would remember the next day. Then, one evening, I overheard her. I miss you, she whispered into the phone, her voice a tender caress meant for someone else. My heart fractured a little more with each word, the undeniable evidence of her affection for him laying waste to any denial she had left. His name became a constant in our conversations, her praise for him a knife twisting with every mention. He's just been so helpful with the project, she'd say, a smile in her voice that hadn't been there when speaking to me in months. An anonymous tip came through, a cowardly text suggesting what I already knew but refused to face. Your wife's affair isn't just rumors, it read, a faceless accuser in a sea of denials. I wanted to dismiss it, to believe in the woman I married, but the foundation of our marriage had crumbled beyond recognition. Then, out of the blue, she suggested we take a break. Maybe some time apart would do us good, she said, her eyes avoiding mine. The suggestion hung between us, a final admission of the distance that had grown too vast to bridge. Each day, the woman I shared my life with became more of a stranger, her heart and affections promised to another. The realization was a slow poison, eroding the remnants of trust and love I clung to. In the end, it wasn't just about discovering the affair. It was about witnessing the slow, painful death of a marriage I thought was built to last. The moment I hung up the phone with my buddy, a sense of foreboding settled in, heavy like a blanket of fog. He had said, "Man, just keep your eyes open. You need more than a gut feeling before you confront her." Easy for him to say. Not living in a house where every laugh from her phone felt like a punch to the gut. It didn't take long for things to escalate. She started coming home late, her explanations vague and her patience thin whenever I asked where she'd been. Just out with friends, she'd say, her voice laced with annoyance as if my concern was the real inconvenience. Then I stumbled upon it, a hidden social media account, a secret window into a life I was no longer a part of. There she was, in photo after photo, cozying up to him, her coworker, with captions that didn't leave much to the imagination. My heart didn't just sink, it plummeted. Confrontation was inevitable. What is this? I demanded, holding up my phone to her face, her secret life displayed in bright pixels. But she was unyielding, anger flaring in her eyes. "You're paranoid," she shot back, turning the blame around on me as if I was the one tearing us apart. It wasn't long before I found more hotel bookings and plane tickets for two. When confronted, she spun a tale of surprises and future plans, but refused to let me see any more details. "You just have to trust me," she insisted, a plea that felt more like a slap, considering the circumstances. Trust, however, was a ship that had already sailed and sunk. Driven by a desperation I couldn't name, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took one of her prenatal visit documents and sent it off for a paternity test. The results came back like a verdict in a trial I didn't remember signing up for: non-paternity. The child she was carrying wasn't mine. Each discovery, each lie, was a thread unraveling the life we had built together. Yet, with every thread pulled, I felt not just the unraveling of our marriage but the disintegration of the man I thought I was: trustful, loving, but now, just a spectator in the demolition of his own happiness. The numbers didn't add up. Staring at the joint account statement, my stomach churned. Her spending had spiraled out of control, and when I'd ask, her explanations were as thin as the paper in my hands. "Just some things for the house," she'd say, avoiding eye contact, her voice a little too casual. I started to feel the distance not just in our home, but among our friends too. It was subtle at first, a cancelled dinner here, an unreturned call there. Then, the avoidance became unmistakable. Our once close-knit group seemed to dissolve overnight, leaving me stranded on an island of whispers and sideways glances. "Everything okay with you guys?" they'd ask, their eyes darting away too quickly. Something was amiss, and it was clear they knew more than they let on. The betrayal hit a new low the day she slipped up, calling me by his name. "Can you pass the salt, David?" There was no David in our lives, except for him, her coworker. The silence that followed was deafening, a gaping void where our relationship used to be. Her apology was mumbled, insincere, a band-aid over a wound too deep to heal. I needed the truth, no matter how much it would hurt. So, I planned a fake business trip, a ruse to catch her in the act. The pain of booking that hotel room just a few blocks from our home, knowing I'd use it as a stakeout to watch my own wife, was indescribable. And there it was, the undeniable proof I'd dreaded but expected. From the shadows of my rented anonymity, I watched them together, laughing, touching, a display of affection so public, so carefree, it was as if our vows meant nothing. The image of them together seared into my memory, a brand marking the end of what we had. I confronted her the moment I returned, the evidence laid bare. Her confession came amidst a storm of tears and blame. "Yes, there's someone else, but you were never there for me emotionally," she cried, as if her betrayal was somehow my doing. Her words were daggers, each one aimed with precision at my heart, turning the blame on me, making her infidelity seem like a desperate act of someone seeking solace. That night, the truth of our crumbling marriage lay exposed, raw and bleeding. Her affair, now out in the open, shifted something fundamental between us. What hurt wasn't just the infidelity, but the realization that our love, once unbreakable, had been reduced to ashes, with her blaming me for the fire. The night air felt heavy, laden with the kind of silence that precedes a storm. We sat across from each other, two strangers tethered by years of shared history, now unraveling. Her next words shattered the silence like glass. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice a whisper of the woman I used to know. The weight of her admission sank deep, anchoring itself to my very soul. "It was a mistake," she added, her eyes pleading for understanding I wasn't sure I had left to give. The revelation sent ripples through the fragile remains of our marriage. The coworker, the man who'd become an unwanted cornerstone of our lives, suddenly vanished into thin air, transferring to another city as if distance could erase his part in this tragedy. His denial of paternity was the final betrayal, leaving her alone in the mess we both found ourselves drowning in. In the wake of the chaos, she reached out, her proposal hanging between us like a lifeline she hoped I'd grasp. Let's raise the child together, she suggested, a desperate bid for reconciliation. But the chasm her deceit had carved was too wide, too deep to cross. My refusal to entertain the thought marked the beginning of the end. Divorce proceedings were initiated, a formal acknowledgement of the irreparable fracture between us. Her reaction was swift, a transformation fueled by fear and desperation. She became hostile, her words sharp and merciless, threatening financial ruin if I pursued the divorce. The battle lines were drawn not just in court, but in the court of public opinion among our friends and family. Allegiances shifted, sides were taken, and the personal became painfully public. The scandal of her relationship with the coworker, now amplified by the pregnancy and our crumbling marriage, played out for all to see. The facade they had built crumbled, leaving behind a trail of destruction that spared no one, least of all her. Through it all, the realization that the love I once harbored had been replaced by a profound sense of betrayal and deception was the hardest pill to swallow. The process, marked by legal battles and public scrutiny, was a crucible, burning away any remnants of what we once had. In the end, the divorce wasn't just the dissolution of our marriage, but a liberation from a web of lies too tangled to salvage. The relentless buzz of the alarm clock pierced through the early morning silence, a cruel reminder of the day ahead. Lying in bed, the weight of the world felt heavy on my chest, a physical manifestation of the stress that had become my constant companion. My health had taken a nosedive, a casualty of the war that my life had become. Each day was a battle, not just in the courtroom, but within myself, fighting against the tide of emotions that threatened to consume me. Work became an impossible task. The focus and dedication that had once defined my career now eluded me, lost in a fog of anxiety and sleepless nights. My colleagues' concerned glances were a silent testament to my unraveling state, a stark contrast to the man I once was. In court, she wielded my deteriorating health and work performance like a weapon, a sharp blade aimed directly at my vulnerabilities. Her words painted me as unreliable, unworthy of the assets and rights we once shared. The emotional distress clouding my judgment, I made decisions that would haunt me, concessions that cost me dearly. The coworker, once a central figure in our tumultuous narrative, vanished from her life as swiftly as he had entered. His departure left her to navigate the storm of pregnancy and public scrutiny alone, a solitary figure in the aftermath of our shared destruction. In a twist that would have once seemed unimaginable, she came back to me, her pleas for reconciliation echoing in the empty space between us. "I've changed," she claimed, her eyes searching mine for a flicker of the love that had once bound us together. But the well had run dry, and I turned her away, the finality of our end cemented in the silence that followed. The fallout of our split rippled through the family, straining the bonds with my children, who struggled to find their footing in the shifting sands of our reality. Their pain was a sharp reminder of the collateral damage, innocent bystanders in a war they never asked to be part of. She faced a loneliness that mirrored my own, her social circles dwindling as friends chose sides, leaving her isolated in the wake of our public demise. Financial struggles followed, a bitter harvest of the seeds sown in our battles against each other. And so, I stood alone, the dust of our shattered lives settling around me. The victory in divorce felt hollow, a Pyrrhic win that cost me more than I was willing to pay. Surrounded by the remnants of the life we built, the loneliness was a tangible thing, a constant reminder of the price of revenge. In the quiet moments, the truth whispered to me, a bitter pill swallowed in the dark. My quest for justice had led me here, to a place of regret and solitude. The realization of my downfall was a cold comfort, the understanding that in seeking to right the wrongs, I had lost not just my wife and the life we shared, but a part of myself that I would never. "All right, guys, let me tell you about this one time, right?" So there I was, chilling on my couch, living the dream with my wife, Emma. Man, she's something else. Always busy with something or the other, never just sitting down. Me, I'm more of a take-it-easy kind of guy. So one day, out of nowhere, I get this genius idea. I'm like, "Emma babe, how about we take a break? Like in the movies, shake things up a bit." I thought I was on to something big, really. Now Emma, she's got this look, right? Like she's thinking real hard about something, but I just brushed it off. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? We'd miss each other like crazy, have a big romantic reunion, and bam! Back to our usual cozy life. So I'm patting myself on the back, thinking I'm the smartest guy in the room. Giving us this chance to, I don't know, rediscover the spark or whatever. Emma, she starts doing her own thing more and more. She's out with friends, picking up new hobbies, and I'm thinking, great, she's having fun. This break thing is working like a charm. And man, she starts changing a bit, you know? She's smiling more, looking all confident and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, she's getting all dolled up for me. I mean, why else, right? I was living the life, hanging with you guys, playing video games, having the whole bed to myself. It was like being back in college, but with better food. I gotta say though, I started noticing she's not around as much. Sometimes I'd come home and she wouldn't be there. But hey, no biggie, right? We were on a break, that's what people do. They go out, do their thing. She's probably missing me like crazy. But here's the kicker, guys. She's not just hanging out. She's like meeting new people, doing stuff she never did before. And I'm thinking, cool, cool, she's just expanding her circle, you know, for us. I didn't see it as anything more. I mean, it's Emma, right? We're solid. So there I am, Mr. Cool Guy, thinking I've nailed this marriage thing by suggesting a break. Little did I know, Emma's out there, not just having a blast, but actually changing. And I'm just here, clueless as ever, thinking it's all part of the plan. Man, was I in for a surprise. Remember how I told you about Emma and our little break? Man, things started getting interesting. So she's suddenly all into these new hobbies and stuff. Like one day she's into painting and I'm like, since when do you paint? And she's just smiling, doing her thing. I'm thinking it's cute, you know, like a little phase or something. Then get this, she starts going to these fitness classes and I'm like, hey, good for you, getting all fit and healthy. For me, right? I mean, I didn't join her or anything. Why would I? The couch and I have a pretty serious relationship going on, you know? And it's not just that. She's reading these books, all kinds of deep philosophical stuff. And I'm like, whoa, babe, that's some heavy reading. She's just nodding, lost in her world. I didn't get it, but hey, if it makes her happy, right? I'm all for it. I'm still the chill guy, letting her do her thing. Thinking she's just finding ways to miss me more. Oh, and the cooking, guys. She starts trying out these fancy recipes and I'm not complaining, right? The food's great. But she's not just cooking for me. She's inviting friends over, hosting dinner parties. And I'm there thinking, look at my wife being all social and stuff. Thanks to my brilliant idea of a break. But here's the funny part. She's not just happier. She's like glowing. And I'm there patting myself on the back, thinking I'm the reason for all this joy. Like, yeah, she's so happy because of our break. I'm such a genius. She's also talking about things she never mentioned before. Dreams, ambitions, stuff I didn't even know she cared about. And I'm nodding along, pretending to listen. But really, I'm just waiting for her to finish so we can watch some TV. I mean, that's what we usually did, right? Guys, I was so out of it. I thought she's doing all this to impress me or something. Like when the break's over, she'd be all, look how cool I've become for you. I didn't get it, not even a bit. It was like she was this whole new person and I'm just there. Same old me, thinking it's all just a fun little game. Sit tight, because this is where it gets even crazier. So Emma, my wife, she's now all about making new friends and stuff. I mean, she's always been friendly, but this was next level. She's meeting people from her painting classes, her book clubs, and God knows where else. And I'm like, cool, cool. She's getting out more. it's all good. But here's the kicker. She's not just hanging with any random folks. These are like, I don't know, fancy people? Like some are from her gym, some she met at these art shows and others. Well, they're from her work stuff. She's even chatting with people from overseas. I'm thinking, whoa, since when did Emma become Ms. International? And you know what? I'm not even worried. I'm like, they're just friends, right? Nothing to sweat about. I mean, I've got you guys. She's got her pals. Fair game. But these aren't just beer and pizza friends like us. They're talking about business, art, and all these big ideas. Way over my head, but I'm not bothered. I'm the chill guy, remember? So one day she's off to some fancy networking event. She's dressed up, all sharp, looking great. And I'm there on the couch, pizza in hand, cheering her on. Go get them, Tiger. I yell, thinking it's all just fun and games. I mean, why would I join her? That's her thing, and I've got my thing. Which at that moment was a marathon of my favorite show. But get this, she's not just schmoozing. She's making connections like serious business stuff. People are offering her opportunities, advice, you name it. And she's loving it. She comes home all excited, telling me about this person and that person. And I'm nodding, pretending to understand. But really, I'm just thinking about the next episode on TV. I mean, sure, she's happy. But in my head, it's just a phase. She's just getting it out of her system. I even joked with her, when you're done playing businesswoman, let's go for a beer, yeah? I thought I was being funny. She just smiled and went on about her day. Guys, I was so clueless. I thought these were just her new buddies, like a hobby or something. I didn't see it as anything serious. Just Emma being social, finding new ways to pass the time while we're on our break. Little did I know, she wasn't just passing time. She was building a whole new world for herself. And me, I was just sitting there, missing the whole show. Hey there, dear readers. I hope you're as hooked on this journey as I was living it. Before we dive into the next chapter of this roller coaster story, I've got a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying this tale of love, adventure, and unexpected twists, how about showing some love? Hit that like button to let me know you're on board. It's a simple click for you, but it means the world to me. It's like a virtual high five, telling me to keep the stories coming. And hey, why stop there? Go ahead and hit subscribe too. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming up next. Subscribing will keep you in the loop, so you're always the first to know when a new chapter drops. Plus, it's a great way to support this storyteller on his quest to keep you entertained. So, take a quick second to like and subscribe. Done? Awesome. Now buckle up and let's jump back into the story. The next chapter's waiting, and trust me, you don't want to miss a beat of what's coming up next. So dudes, here's where things start getting a bit wacky. Emma, right? She's changing, and I mean really changing. She's got this new style, new confidence, and she's talking about stuff I've never even heard of. And me? I'm thinking all this is thanks to our little break. Genius move on my part, huh? I start telling everyone, man, this break thing? Best idea ever. Look at my wife. She's turning into this superwoman for our marriage. I'm patting myself on the back, feeling like the mastermind of relationships. I'm seeing her happy, looking good, and I'm like, yep, she's doing all this for me, for us. But here's the funny part. I'm missing the point, like, completely. She's not just dressing up or picking up hobbies. She's becoming her own person. And me? I'm still the same guy, glued to my couch, thinking I've hit the jackpot. She starts talking about her plans, right? And they're big plans. Travel, career moves, stuff like that. And I'm there, nodding along, laughing it off. Yeah, sure, after our break, we can talk about all this travel and career jazz. I'm thinking she's just dreaming out loud, you know? And her friends, they're not just friends anymore. They're like her support crew. They're encouraging her, pushing her to do more, be more. And I'm still in the dark, thinking they're just her new coffee buddies or something. One night, we're at this dinner party she throws, and I'm trying to be Mr. Cool husband. I'm bragging to her friends. See how happy my wife is? All thanks to our little break. And they're looking at me like I've grown a second head. I'm oblivious, just laughing, pouring another drink, living in my bubble. Then this one guy at the party, he asks Emma about her plans. And she starts talking, really talking, about her ambitions. And I'm just standing there, beer in hand, thinking, wow, she's got some wild ideas. But hey, once the break's over, we'll get back to normal, right? Guys, I had no clue. Emma was on this whole other level, and I'm just there thinking it's all a show for me. I didn't get that she wasn't just changing for our marriage. She was changing for herself. And me? I'm just the guy who thought he had it all figured out. Talk about being clueless. All right, fellas, grab your beers, because this is where it gets really interesting. So Emma's been on this whole self-improvement gig, right? And then, boom, she lands this massive career opportunity. I mean, it's big, like life-changing big. But you know me, I'm still lounging around, thinking it's just another one of her hobbies or something. She comes home one day, all excited, telling me about this huge project she's leading at work. And I'm like, that's great, honey. But inside, I'm thinking, she'll be over it in a week. I mean, I'm supportive, but I'm not exactly jumping up and down. It's work, right? How exciting can it be? But here's the catch. It's not just a project. It's her dream project, something she's been wanting for ages. And I'm there, nodding, but not really getting it. She's talking about the impact it'll have, the recognition she'll get, and I'm just wondering what's for dinner. She starts spending more time at work, coming home late, and I'm feeling a bit neglected, you know? I even joked about it. What, am I just your side guy now? I thought I was being funny. She didn't laugh much, though. Just smiled and kept on with her work. And guys, you should have seen her. She was in her element, like she was born for this. Her friends were all cheering for her, and I'm just there, not really getting the fuss. I mean, it's work, right? We all do it. But she was on another level. I remember this one evening, she was preparing for this big presentation, and she asked for my opinion. And I, being the great husband I am, said, looks good to me, without even looking up from the TV. She just sighed and went back to her work. I thought I was being supportive. I mean, I didn't say anything bad, right? But here's the kicker. She nails it. The presentation's a hit. Her bosses are thrilled, and she's the star of the office. And me? I'm like, great job, babe. But I'm still not seeing the big picture. I'm thinking it's just another day at the office. She starts getting more respect, more responsibilities, and I'm still treating it like it's nothing special. I mean, I'm happy for her and all, but I'm not really understanding how big of a deal this is for her. I'm just the same old guy, thinking it's all part of the routine. So, there she is, climbing up the career ladder. And I'm just there, stuck on my couch, thinking everything's the same. Man, was I missing out on the real story? Guys, you won't believe what happened next. So, Emma's off doing her big shot career thing, and I'm still Mr. Couch Potato, right? But then, stuff starts falling apart. Literally, the things Emma used to handle, man. I never knew how much she did. First, it's the laundry. I'm looking for clean socks, and there's none. I'm thinking, where does Emma keep them? Then it hits me. She's always done the laundry. I try doing it myself, and end up turning all my white shirts pink. Classic, right? And cooking? Forget about it. I thought I could whip up something. How hard could it be? Well, let's just say the fire department and I are on a first-name basis now. Emma used to cook these amazing meals, and here I am, struggling to boil water without causing a disaster. Then there's the bills and the budgeting. Man, I never knew how much stuff costs. Emma always took care of that. I start getting these reminders and late notices, and I'm like, what sorcery is this? I had no idea how much she managed. And the house, guys. It turns into a disaster zone. I never realized how much she did to keep it all running smooth. I find myself missing her. Well, missing the things she did, really. It's like my comfy life is falling apart without her. I start seeing how much I relied on her, but in a totally selfish way, you know? I'm not missing her for her. I'm missing what she did for me. It's a wake-up call, but not the good kind. I'm realizing her value, but only because I'm inconvenienced. So I'm trying to get her back, not because I love her. I mean, I do, but not in the way I should. It's more like, come back and fix my life. I'm calling her, trying to be all sweet, but really, I'm just wanting her to come back and take over again. She's patient, listening to me whine about my laundry disasters and cooking fiascos. And she's giving me advice. Can you believe it? After all that, she's still helping me. But I'm not getting it. I'm still thinking it's all about me. How hard my life's become without her doing everything. I'm missing the point entirely. It's not about the chores or the bills. It's about her. What she needs and wants. But I'm too caught up in my own mess to see that. I'm just thinking, man, life was so much easier with Emma around. It's a real wake-up call, but I'm still hitting the snooze button, you know? I'm not seeing the big picture. I'm just feeling sorry for myself. Missing the easy life I had when she was around to take care of everything. Here's where I start panicking, right? I'm thinking, man, I might actually lose Emma. So what do? I go into full-on Prince Charming mode, but like, the discount version. I'm thinking all these grand gestures will win her back. Spoiler alert, they don't. First up, flowers. But not just any flowers. The cheapest ones I can find. I'm thinking, flowers are flowers, right? Wrong. I show up at her office with this sad bouquet, all proud of myself. She just looks at them like, really, dude? I miss the mark big time. Then I try cooking dinner. Remember the fire department story? Yeah, so I'm thinking I've improved. Spoiler, I haven't. I invite her over, and it's a disaster. Burnt food, smoke alarms, the whole 9 yards. She's trying not to laugh, but I can see it. I'm like, hey, at least I tried, right? Wrong again. And get this, I even try writing her poetry. Me, the guy who thinks Shakespeare is a type of spear. It's all cheesy lines and cringy rhymes. I read it to her over the phone, and there's this silence. She's probably wondering if I hit my head or something. I'm pulling out all the stops, thinking I'm being this romantic hero. In my head, it's like a movie scene where the guy wins the girl back with his charm and wit. In reality, it's more like a comedy skit where the guy keeps tripping over his own feet. I even try serenading her. Yep, you heard that right. I grab my old guitar, and mind you, I can barely play. I'm outside her window, strumming and crooning like some lovesick teenager. Neighbors are watching, dogs are howling, and Emma's just there. Hand over her mouth, trying not to burst out laughing. I'm thinking these grand gestures will show her how much I care. But it's all surface stuff, you know? I'm not dealing with the real issues like how I never really listened to her or supported her dreams. I'm just putting on a show, hoping it'll fix everything. She's patient, though. She's not laughing in my face or anything. She's just watching me make a fool of myself. Probably wondering what on earth I'm trying to do. I thought I was being this big romantic, but really, I was just clueless trying to put a band-aid on a broken leg. So there I am, Mr. Desperate, doing everything I can think of to win her back. But it's all wrong. It's like I'm trying to win a prize, not understand and reconnect with my wife. Man, I was way off the mark. So here's the big moment, the grand revelation. Emma sits me down for a chat, right? And I'm thinking, this is it, she's gonna say she misses me. Oh, how wrong I was. She starts talking about her life, her new experiences, and how she's found happiness. And I'm there, nodding, but in my head, I'm like, okay, when's the part where she says she wants me back? But guys, that part never comes. She's telling me about her independence, her growth, how she's discovered so much about herself. And I'm just sitting there, waiting for the punchline, but there's no punchline, she's serious. In my typical fool's paradise, I'm thinking this is just a game, right? Like she's playing hard to get. So I start laughing it off. Ah, you got me there, babe. So when are you coming back? And she just looks at me, this look of, I don't know, disappointment, frustration, maybe both. She tries to explain it's not a game, this is real for her. She's found this new sense of purpose, and it doesn't necessarily include me. And me, being the king of denial, I'm still not getting it. I'm thinking, she just wants me to fight for her, like in those romantic movies. So I go into overdrive, right? I'm like, I'll fight for you, Emma, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm expecting her to swoon or something, but she doesn't. She's just tired, man. Tired of me not getting it. She's talking about how she's changed, and I'm still there, stuck in the past, thinking we can just go back to how things were. I'm not seeing the woman in front of me. I'm seeing the woman I want her to be. It's like she's speaking a foreign language. She's saying one thing, and I'm hearing another. I'm completely missing the point. She's moved on to this whole new chapter in her life, and I'm still on the first page, thinking it's all about me. Guys, I was a fool, a total absolute fool. She's laying her heart out, being honest about her feelings, and I'm treating it like it's just a challenge for me to win. I'm not listening to her. Not really. I'm just hearing what I want to hear. She finishes talking, and I'm just sitting there, thinking, okay, any minute now, she'll laugh and say she's kidding. But she doesn't. She just gets up and leaves, and I'm left there, wondering what the hell just happened. I thought I was being the hero of the story, but turns out I was the clueless sidekick all along. This is where it all hits the fan. So there's Emma, right? She gets caught up in this crazy situation. Some mix-up at work. Something about a project gone wrong, looks bad, real bad. And me? I see my golden ticket. I'm thinking, this is my chance to swoop in, be her hero. I'm plotting this grand rescue, like I'm gonna save her and win her back. I'm all geared up, ready to play the knight in shining armor. I mean, what could go wrong, right? Everything. Everything could go wrong. So I barge in, all full of myself, trying to fix things. I'm talking to her bosses, making a bigger mess, spouting nonsense. I thought I was helping, but I was just pouring gasoline on the fire. She's looking at me like I've lost my mind. And maybe I had. I'm making these grand speeches, defending her, but it's all about me. My ego. I'm not even listening to her, not understanding the real issue. I'm just there, making a spectacle of myself, thinking I'm doing the right thing. But here's where it all backfires. My help just makes things worse. Her bosses are furious, not just with her now, but with me too. And Emma, she's mortified. I thought I was her savior, but I was her nightmare. She tries to explain, to clear the air, but I'm not having it. I'm on my high horse, thinking I'm saving the day. I'm arguing, causing a scene, and she's just getting more and more upset. It dawns on me, too late, that I'm not helping. I'm ruining everything. And then the final blow. She tells me it's over, for real this time. No more chances, no more breaks. I've crossed a line I didn't even see. I'm standing there like a deer in headlights, thinking, what just happened? I lost her, guys. Not because of the mix-up at her work, but because of me, my idiocy, my ego. I tried to play the hero, and I ended up the villain. I thought I was winning her back, but I was pushing her away for good. In the end, I was left with nothing. No wife, no respect, just a whole lot of regret. I thought I had it all figured out, but I was just a fool, living in my own little world. And when that world came crashing down, I had no one to blame but myself. So there you have it, guys. The story of how I had everything and lost it all. Not because of fate or bad luck, but because of my own foolishness. A hard lesson learned, but man, did I learn it. The late autumn in New York has a way of making you feel lost, even more so when you're invisible in your own marriage. That's where I found myself, next to John, my husband, who might as well have been 1,000 miles away, buried in his work. I tried everything to grab his attention, to bring back the spark we once had, but it was like whispering into the wind. Then came the work gala, a night I expected to be just another evening shadowed by John's accomplishments. But that's where I met Alex. He was everything John wasn't at that moment, attentive, charming, and oh, so complimentary. His words weren't just heard, they were felt, making me come alive in ways I hadn't in months. It was wrong, but it was exhilarating. A surprise weekend getaway from John should have been the perfect antidote, but it turned out to be the opposite. There he was, a phone in hand, lost in emails and calls, leaving me to wander the hotel alone, feeling more like a solo traveler than a wife. I returned to New York more disconnected from John than ever, my mind replaying Alex's words like a favorite song. Coffee with Alex started innocently enough. We'd talk, laugh, and for a brief moment, I could forget the chasm at home. But with every cup, I felt myself slipping further away from my vows, drawn to Alex's magnetic pull. I told myself we were just friends, but even I didn't buy it. The night I decided to meet Alex for drinks, telling John the first was out with the girls, marked the point of no return. The mix of guilt and thrill was intoxicating, a cocktail of emotions I hadn't anticipated when I slipped into the little black dress that screamed anything but innocent. Our affair began in a whirlwind of secret glances and stolen moments, a secret life built on lies and the intoxicating connection I had with Alex. Every message, every touch, was laced with guilt towards John, yet I couldn't pull myself away from Alex. John's suspicions crept up like shadows at dusk. His questions about my nights out became more frequent, his gaze more probing. I spun tales of girl nights and late work meetings, but each lie felt like a weight, dragging me deeper into a sea of guilt. The stress of living a double life began to wear on me, the once thrilling adventure now a tightrope walk above a looming abyss. I knew something had to give, but I was caught in the inertia of my choices, unable to see a way out that didn't end in freefall. Hearing John on the phone, arranging for a private investigator, felt like a punch to the gut. My heart raced, a mix of fear and disbelief swirling inside. This can't be happening, I whispered to myself, the walls of our apartment closing in. The thought of ending things with Alex crossed my mind, a fleeting hope to stop the inevitable crash. But who was I kidding? My feelings for Alex were a tangled mess I couldn't escape. The evidence came like a storm, photos of Alex and me, captured in moments I thought were hidden from the world. John didn't confront me, didn't throw accusations or demand explanations. He was silent, a strategy that was more terrifying than any words. Knowing he had those pictures, seeing the life we built together hanging by a thread, I felt trapped in a nightmare I had helped weave. In a desperate bid to reclaim some control, some semblance of the thrill that had led me down this path, I planned a date with Alex. A bold move, no underwear, a secret rebellion against the suffocating reality of my life. It was reckless, fueled by a need to feel alive amidst the chaos. But deep down, I knew I was playing with fire. John's appearance at the restaurant was the last thing I expected. There he was, the embodiment of calm, but his eyes, they were ice. How could you? Wasn't asked, but it was written all over his face. My words deserted me, guilt and shame choking any attempt at explanation. The man standing before me was a stranger, his cold demeanor a far cry from the husband I thought I knew. He left without a scene, a silent storm exiting as quickly as he had appeared. The aftermath left me reeling, the weight of my actions crashing down. It was a wake-up call, a harsh reminder of the consequences of my choices. The gravity of what I had done, of what I had risked, hit me hard. Our marriage, once a safe haven, now felt like a house of cards, fragile and teetering on the edge of collapse. Reaching out to John was like trying to grasp smoke. Calls, texts, emails, all went unanswered. The silence from his end was a clear message, a void where our conversations used to be. It was in this silence that I found myself truly alone, left to navigate the wreckage of my own making. Then came the blow I hadn't anticipated. Checking our bank accounts, I found them emptied, a stark, unforgiving zero staring back at me. It was John's first strike, a move that cut deep, leaving me financially and emotionally stranded. No words were needed, his actions spoke volumes. It wasn't just about the money, it was a declaration of war, a clear sign that reconciliation was off the table. The realization that I was on my own, that the safety net of our marriage had been irrevocably cut, was a bitter pill to swallow. With each passing day, the enormity of what I had lost began to sink in. John's silence, the empty bank accounts, the cold look in his eyes, it all pointed to a future I wasn't prepared for. A future where I had to face the consequences of my actions, alone. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Alex dropped the bomb. "I can't do this anymore," he said, his voice shaking, the fear in his eyes mirroring the chaos our affair had caused. The words hit like a freight train, leaving me dazed, alone in the wreckage of what we had. Betrayed by the very person for whom I had risked it all, I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. The next blow came swiftly. John, armed with months of gathered evidence, filed for divorce on grounds of infidelity. The proceedings were a blur, a swift and merciless legal battle where I stood no chance. John's meticulous documentation painted a picture I couldn't refute, and before I knew it, I was stripped of everything. The settlement left me with nothing but memories of a life that now felt like a distant dream. It was then I realized the extent of John's planning. He had been 2 steps ahead from the start, using my betrayal as a chess piece in a game I didn't even know we were playing. The realization was a bitter pill, leaving me reeling from the magnitude of my naivety. I was outmaneuvered, outplayed, and left to face the consequences of my actions alone. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Friends who I thought would stand by me sided with John, their judgment swift and unforgiving. Family members, once my closest allies, now looked at me with eyes full of disappointment and betrayal. My reputation, carefully built over years, crumbled in an instant, leaving me ostracized from the very community I had once called home. As if to twist the knife further, John left the city, his departure a clear signal of moving on. Rumors of his flourishing career and new life reached me, a constant reminder of what I had lost. There I was, stuck in the same place, haunted by the ghosts of my choices, while he built a new world without me. In the aftermath, I attempted to rebuild my life, but the damage was irreparable. The affair, once a secret thrill, had become my undoing, branding me a pariah in a society that had once welcomed me with open arms. Job opportunities dried up, doors once open now firmly shut, as John's final act of revenge became apparent. My affair was no longer a private matter, it was public knowledge, a scarlet letter that made it impossible for me to find employment in our industry. Every attempt to start over was met with whispers and sideways glances, a constant reminder of the scandal that had defined me. The isolation was suffocating, a relentless reminder of the cost of my choices. In a city that never sleeps, I was wide awake, facing the stark reality of my new existence. The journey from being half of a power couple to a social outcast was swift and brutal. With each passing day, the weight of my decisions bore down on me, a constant companion in my newfound solitude. The life I had known, the identity I had crafted over years, was gone, leaving me to navigate a world that no longer had a place for me. John's departure and the dissolution of our marriage marked the end of an era, but it was his final act of revenge that sealed my fate. In making my affair public, he had not only taken everything from me but had also ensured that the shadow of my actions would follow me, a dark cloud over every attempt to rebuild. As I faced the reality of my new normal, the magnitude of my fall from grace became painfully clear. The journey ahead was uncertain, a path marred by the consequences of a choice that had seemed so inconsequential in the moment. The cost of my actions, once hidden behind the thrill of the affair, was now a debt I would spend a lifetime trying to repay. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you do, please take a moment to hit that like button, it really helps me out and lets me know you appreciate the content. Also, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Subscribing is a great way to stay updated with all the latest videos and to be part of our growing community. It's quick, it's free, and it ensures you won't miss out on any upcoming content. So go ahead, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Your support means a lot and keeps this channel going. Thanks for watching. Sitting alone in the dim light of my tiny apartment, the magnitude of my mistakes crashes over me like a relentless wave. The affair, a fleeting escape from my unhappiness, had cost me everything. As I sift through the debris of my shattered life, I can't help but wonder, was it worth it? The silence that follows is a deafening no. Regrets flood in, but they're like rain against a closed window, useless now. Then, as if fate had one more cruel twist of the knife to offer, the divorce papers arrive. Not just any day, but on the anniversary of our wedding. The irony isn't lost on me, it's a cruel reminder of the full circle my life has taken. From saying, I do, to saying, I don't, in the span of a few years. The symbolism is as clear as it is painful. Signing those papers, my hand trembles, not from the cold of my barely heated apartment but from the realization of what this act represents. It's not just the end of my marriage, it's the closing of a chapter of my life, one that had its highs but ultimately plummeted into the abyss. There's no redemption here, no last-minute twist where everything is made right. It's just the end, stark and unyielding. Packing up my life into boxes feels like trying to contain a sea of memories within cardboard walls. Each item a reminder of what was, what could have been, and what is now lost. New York, with all its vibrant chaos and unfulfilled promises, has nothing left for me. The city of dreams has become the landscape of my nightmares. On my last night, drawn by a masochistic need to torment myself further, I stroll past our old apartment. Through the window, I see a happy couple, their laughter echoing into the night, a stark contrast to the silence that now envelopes me. It's a visceral reminder of the happiness I squandered, the life I dismantled with my own hands. Leaving New York at dawn, the city's skyline recedes in the rearview mirror, a symbolic farewell to the past, to the mistakes that defined my recent life. The open road ahead offers no promises, but it does offer distance from the wreckage of my past. Settling in a small town feels like stepping into another world. Here, no one knows my name, my story, or the scandal that upended my life. It's anonymity and a semblance of peace, but the shadow of my past is a constant companion, a dark cloud in a clear sky. Finding work at a local cafe is a humbling experience. Gone are the days of power lunches and boardroom battles. Now, it's the simplicity of brewed coffee and daily specials. It's not the life I envisioned, but it's a life, a chance at some form of redemption, however small. Then, as if to remind me that the world moves on regardless of our personal catastrophes, news of John's engagement finds its way to me. He's moved on, found happiness anew. It's a bitter pill, knowing he's rebuilt the life I tore down, while I'm still learning to live with the aftermath of my choices. This new chapter, far from the world I once knew, is marked not by the achievements of my past but by the lessons of my downfall. As I navigate this unfamiliar terrain, the scars of my betrayal, the weight of my decisions, are ever present. Yet, in this quiet town, amid the simplicity of my new life, there's a glimmer of hope. A hope that maybe, just maybe, redemption isn't about erasing the past but learning to live with its lessons. Dipping my toes back into the dating pool felt more like stepping onto thin ice. Each attempt to connect with someone new was shadowed by the specter of my past. Conversations would either skid to a halt at the mention of my history or, worse, spark interest for all the wrong reasons. It was disheartening, navigating the murky waters of judgment and curiosity, a stark reminder that my actions had branded me in ways I couldn't easily shake. In the midst of this loneliness, I found an unexpected source of comfort, a cat. Adopting her was a spur-of-the-moment decision, fueled by the need for companionship without the complexity of human relationships. She was a quiet presence, her purrs and antics a balm to the ache of isolation. It was a simple, unconditional connection, but it meant the world to me. Therapy became my weekly ritual, a safe space to unravel the tangle of my emotions and actions. With each session, I delved deeper into the why and the how of my past choices, confronting the pain I had caused and the pain I felt. It was a humbling journey, learning to forgive myself not as an act of absolution but as a step towards healing. An old friend re-entered my life around this time, one who had missed the storm that had upended my world. Reconnecting with her was like finding an oasis in a desert, a reminder that life still held pockets of normalcy, of potential new beginnings untouched by the chaos of my past. My therapist suggested an exercise. Write a letter to John, pouring into words all the apologies and regrets that haunted me. It wasn't about seeking forgiveness from him but about articulating my acknowledgement of the hurt I caused. Writing that letter was like opening a vow, releasing a flood of emotions I hadn't realized I'd been holding back. It was cathartic, a step towards closing a chapter that had remained stubbornly open. In searching for outlets for my swirling emotions, I stumbled upon painting. Each brushstroke was a release, colors and forms translating my inner turmoil into something tangible. My art wasn't about creating beauty but about finding a voice for my pain, a way to process and express what words often couldn't. Volunteering at the local shelter became another avenue for healing. Helping those in need, offering my time and heart, felt like a tangible way to make amends, not to the people I had hurt directly, but to the world I had withdrawn from. Each act of kindness was a step on the path to redemption, a way to rebuild myself into someone capable of contributing positively to the lives around me. A turning point came when a small article one wrote, reflecting on my journey of starting over, was published in a local paper. It was a modest piece, but seeing my words in print, sharing my story of falling and finding the strength to rise again, felt like a victory. It was an acknowledgement of my pain but also of my resilience. Encouraged by the response to my article, I started a blog. It became a platform for sharing the raw and real journey of recovery, of the lessons learned in the aftermath of life-altering mistakes. The blog connected me with a community I didn't know I needed, people who had walked similar paths, who understood the struggle of rebuilding oneself from the ground up. The most affirming moment came in the form of a letter from a woman who had found my blog during her own tumultuous divorce. Her words, filled with gratitude for the solace my experiences had brought her, were a powerful reminder that our most painful chapters could offer hope to others. It was a poignant realization that while my past actions had caused much hurt, my journey towards healing could be a beacon for those navigating their own darkness. The day I signed the lease for a better apartment felt like a victory. It wasn't just about moving to a nicer place, it was about moving forward, stepping away from the shadows of my past. The space was modest, yet it represented something immense, progress. Each box I unpacked was a small declaration of independence, a tangible sign of the distance I'd come from the depths of my despair. Forgiving myself was a journey, not a single moment of epiphany. But gradually, I began to accept that while I couldn't rewrite the past, I had the power to shape my future. This realization didn't erase the pain or the regret, but it allowed me to view them through a different lens, one of learning and growth. It was liberating, feeling the weight of self-blame start to lift, making way for a cautious optimism. The local art show was a milestone. Seeing my work displayed alongside other artists was a tangible reflection of my journey. Each piece told a story of struggle, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of expression. The pride I felt was profound, a validation of my new path and the identity I was slowly rebuilding. A casual conversation at the cafe where I worked blossomed into a friendship with a fellow artist. It was refreshing, connecting with someone who knew me only for who I was now, not the turmoil of my past. Our shared passion for art provided a solid foundation for a friendship that felt both new and deeply familiar. This friend became my gateway to a small, vibrant art community. Within this circle, I found acceptance and encouragement, a stark contrast to the isolation that had once engulfed me. It was a reminder that belonging isn't about fitting a mold, but about finding spaces where our authentic selves are celebrated. Selling my first painting was a moment of quiet triumph. The buyer, a local who'd seen my work at the art show, offered a modest sum. It wasn't about the money, though that was certainly welcome. It was about the recognition, the affirmation that what I created held value to someone else. It was a sign that there was a place for me in this new world I was navigating. Teaching art classes at the community center became my next step. Sharing my passion, guiding others to find their voice through painting, was unexpectedly fulfilling. Each class was a reminder of the transformative power of art, not just for the students but for me as well. The anonymous donation to my blog, accompanied by a note of gratitude for my honesty and courage, was a poignant reminder of the impact my words could have. It was a small gesture that carried immense significance, reinforcing my belief in the path I had chosen. Planning the art exhibit was both exhilarating and daunting. The themes of renewal and forgiveness were close to my heart, reflecting my personal journey. It was a project that merged my past with my present, an opportunity to share my story through the universal language of art. The exhibit's opening night was a blur of faces, conversations, and emotions. But amid the whirlwind, there was a moment of profound clarity. Surrounded by my art, supported by friends new and old, I felt a deep sense of belonging and purpose. The journey from the depths of my lowest point to this moment had been long and fraught with challenges. Yet, here I was, not just surviving but thriving. My past, with all its pain and mistakes, would always be a part of me, but it no longer shackled me. I had begun a new chapter, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of new beginnings.